Hello, my name is Morgan Harris, and today I will be showing you my assignment for low-level programming. So yeah, we were assigned a project which was to create a program in C which would allow a user to input athletes' lap times and the amount of athletes, and then the data, use that data that is inputted into a 2D array to do statistics. So, to start off, I created two subroutines. My first one was named readFloat. This would be used to read a floating point value, which would be the athlete's lap times, since lap times come in with 2 decimal points for seconds and minutes, or milliseconds. So yeah, I started by declaring my floating point value, which would be return float, and my character input of 50 characters. I then used the gets function to get the last thing that was inputted by the user, and it would be turned into a string. So, it was necessary for me to now convert that string into a float. So I did that by using the str to f, the string to float function, to turn the input into a floating point value. That was my first subroutine. My second subroutine was named readInt. Its purpose was to collect the amount of athletes that were going to be performing. It would do this by firstly declaring the integer return int and its character input of 50 characters. Then use the gets function again to get the input from the user. I then, instead of converting it from a string to a floating point value, I converted it from its string to an integer using a to I. So it converted the input into an integer, and I returned it again. Next is the main part of my code. I started by using the printf function to insert the amount of athletes participating, and then the int athletes, which will now be the readInt function, that subroutine that we created, to write to the user, so it allows the user to input how many athletes are participating. I then used the file out function because we needed it to be able to write to a file to open the file that it wrote to. I then used the fopen to do it. I then also created a error handling system which would show an error if there was a problem with opening the file. Next I had to declare the 2D array all this information would be stored in. So I first got my floating point value called lap times. The first bit of the array would be the athletes that we inputted earlier, and then each athlete would be able to do 4 laps each. I then declared the integers for my for loops, and I used my for loops with the condition of athletes, so the athletes participating, to be able to run, so the user could input the lap time for the X amount of athletes that we've inputted for the 4 laps. Also, because C indexes from 0, I put both of my X and I to +1 inside the printf statement to make it a little bit easier for the user to understand. Also, it'd be stored as IX lap times to readFloat. I also then declared my statistics and did all of my statistics using for loops. So I would start off by declaring, using a for loop, the average, max, minimum and total of the starting point, and as each lap time would be inputted, it'd be able to update automatically until all 4 laps are completed for each athlete, to do max, minimum, and also average by here, which is just avg equals total shaded by the 4 laps. I also did an fprintf statement for the file and a printf statement to stats for the athlete, so athlete number X for minimum to 3 decimal points, max to 3 decimal points, average to 3 decimal points, total to 3 decimal points, and so on. I also did the stats for all the athletes, not just one in particular athlete, by doing the average and all the stats before the for loop. So yeah, that's my code itself. Now to show the code running. So for this I'll only do 2 athletes, so it'll be, its first lap time will be 1.2, its second lap time will be 3.4, its third will be 4.2, and its first one will be 1.1. Now for my athlete number 2, lap 1, it'll be 3.4, 1.2, 4.5 and 8.8. So yeah, here's the stats for athlete 1, its minimum, maximum, average and total, stats for athlete 2, and the race stats altogether. So that's my code running. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.